Today I'll be sharing all about my professional color analysis. Hi everyone, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Knee Knits. My name is Amy and usually I talk all about knitting, but today we're talking all about color. So I got a professional color analysis. If you're unfamiliar with color analysis, it is the concept that there is a specific palette of colors that looks best on you while wearing them. Colors that specifically complement your skin, hair, and your eye colors. As someone who spends a lot of time knitting my own sweaters, making my own clothing, and spending a lot of money on making said clothes, I've always been plagued with the decision of what color do I make my next garment. I feel like discovering the colors that I loved wearing the most really was just trial and error throughout the years of my life. So I've always leaned more towards jewel tones, and when color analysis sort of appeared on social media more, I got researching. I was looking up lots of articles about how to figure out what season you're in, lots of articles on how to figure out your skin tone, if it's cool toned or warm toned, and I kind of self-declared myself a winter, which if you follow my channel, you guys know I talk a lot about diving into the winter palette, which features a lot of those rich jewel tone colors. But I always wanted to get a professional analysis because I'm not trained, I'm not a professional, and I always thought it'd be fun to go have an in-person color analysis session. So that is what I did. So I found Ginger Burr of Total Image Consultants online. This video is not sponsored, by the way. I found her on my own and paid for my own session, and she does both in-person and virtual color analysis sessions outside of Boston. Ginger Burr is the founder of Total Image Consultants, and she has been helping women for over 30 years build their confidence through personal style and fashion. Ginger does not do a seasonal color analysis, which was something that I didn't even know was an option because all that I've seen on social media is the seasonal color analysis. She uses a totally different process that creates a palette that is 100% personalized to you rather than putting you in a box of a specific season. She shared with me that she was originally trained on color analysis with the seasonal method when she first started doing this over 30 years ago, and she had been doing seasonal color analysis for years and really found it quite limiting. So she then found this new system that she currently uses that she loves so much more, as she can make it super personalized and custom to each client. So knowing this, I really didn't know what to expect with the session. So I came in with no makeup as instructed, and before the session started, she did confirm with me that my hair color is what I want it to be because hair color influences the palette. To start out the color analysis, she started by matching my skin, hair, and eye colors with her color cards. At this point, she shared with me that my skin tone is neutral, leaning ever so slightly warm, and my eye color is a warm brown, and my hair color is a very dark brown that appears black from far away, but it's not actually black. And then she moved into her big box of 2,000 colors that has pretty much every color you probably could imagine. They are grouped by color family, and what she would do is she would grab like a handful of the color cards. She would fan them out like right under my chin so she could see both my face and the color cards. Of course, she has a big lighting setup and everything, so everything is true to color in her studio, and she would fan out the colors and slide them like around my face and pick out each color that she thought was best for me. She then would put them down on a workspace, and you can see in the clips that I am looking down after she finishes picking out each color because from my side I couldn't see the colors that she was looking at, so it was kind of like a fun reveal, like, oh, which color did she put down? And so this was the bulk of the color analysis. It took her, well over an hour to go through each of those color cards, and the work table sort of had my palette grow and develop as the session went on, which was really fun to see. Ginger would constantly refine the palette as we went on, so a lot of the colors she would put down on the table as maybes, and then as we went forward, she would go back to those maybes and decide whether or not they would make the cut. She would just constantly be looking, so it wasn't just a one and done and forget about it. It was like a constantly evolving, constantly being refined palette. Once we got through all of the colors, she then moved on to metals, which was at the very end, and then picked out which metal colors looked best on me. And then at that point, the palette was completed and she walked me through my results.
So what we have here is hair color, eye color, skin color.
Okay.
So those will be labeled. And you can wear all of those. Like I said, you're probably not going to want to wear an entire outfit in your skin color, but it's nice to know it's there. And you can go a tiny bit darker, a tiny bit lighter than it. I gave you some blacks because you do look good in black. And then you have a variety of reds, even getting a little orangey. Your reds, most of your pinks and reds go a little warmer. These are a tiny bit cooler over here.
Okay.
Lots of purples. You have beautiful, beautiful purples, wine tones, those kinds of things. Gorgeous teals. Lots of greens. You just look really great. And, you mentioned forest green. Those are like top of the list. You could go a little olivey, but they didn't compare. They were okay. But then as soon as I got into the foresty type greens, they were better. So you can do a really dark navy, that super, super dark navy. You can do a range of blues. Beautiful blues over here, more blues. You can get a little more green teal, a little more blue teal. All of them are beautiful. A little bit orangey, like that.
Okay.
You do look good in rose gold.
Nice.
And then gold is your preferred metal. These four right here are I'm going to mark them as accents. They're just a little bit, brighter, more intense than what you've got down here. So I thought you could have fun with those if you wanted to. But I just, unless you're feeling really high energy, I probably wouldn't do them as an entire outfit. Okay. But you know what? You can gauge that and see. Those are warm. These are warm. These are warm. These get a little bit cooler, but they're still, in the warmer tones. So it's not a cool palette, but it's also not as warm as you can get.
Yeah.
Those just felt they kind of pulled you down a little bit. Gray is very cool. Most grays are very cool. And since your colors are not super cool, you may feel a little blah in it.
Okay.
But, you get to decide.
Yeah.
You get to decide. Pastel, I would avoid pastels even, as much as really pale gray. I'd rather see you go to yellow, and I was having trouble finding a yellow that I thought was really spectacular. I'd rather have you go to orange, orange than yellow. And since you don't like yellow, I didn't even worry about it. You have lots of neutrals. Black, navy, brown, and your whites. Where are your whites? Here are your whites.
Oh, okay.
Soft whites. This is it's not a bright white, but it's got a brightness to it. This is a pinky, kind of a pinky white.
Okay.
So you can do that too.
So after I left the session, a few weeks later in the mail, I got that entire palette on this cute little key ring. Everything that was on the table that Ginger shared is now in my hand for me to keep. So you can see here, this was the original swatches for my hair, skin, and eye color. And I think that, she did a pretty good job. I hope she would. You can see the skin tone that matches, my eye color, and then my hair color as well. And I thought it was interesting that she shared that these colors are technically in my palette. I would never think to wear something that matches my eye color or my hair color, but I guess it kind of makes sense. And of course, I wouldn't really want to wear something that's my skin color, but good to know that it looks good on me if I want to. All of the color chips are here fanned out. They did come kind of shuffled, so I did choose to reorder them in color order just because I feel like a lot of the stripes look similar, and I wanted to place them next to each other so I could see the nuances between the colors. For example, I feel like a lot of these teals and greens look similar, but now that they're next to each other, you can tell that each one of these squares has a very slight color difference. So looking at my palette as a whole, I'm not entirely surprised that this is what I got. I've always loved wearing a lot of these colors, but there definitely are a lot of colors on here that I am surprised are in my palette. We'll start with the colors that I know that I've always loved. I've always loved dark blues and navies. So we have these here. I've always loved forest greens on me, and there are definitely a lot of darker forest greens in here, like the top of this strip has some, as well as this strip here. And of course, there's a couple of strips in here that include the sort of dark wine maroon colors that I've always enjoyed knitting with and wearing. A lot of the colors in this palette that surprised me were the colors that leaned sort of warm. And they surprised me the most because, like I said in the intro, I had sort of self-declared myself a winter, which has a cool skin tone. But since Ginger revealed to me that my skin tone is not cool, it makes sense that I have warm colors on here that maybe I didn't expect to have. For example, there are a lot of warmer greens that I normally would not have shopped for myself, both in clothing and in yarn. Things that are more earthy toned rather than like a cool blue-green here. So those were kind of surprising to me, as well as these purples here. These warmer purples I didn't really expect to be in my palette, but now that I'm holding them up next to me, me, I totally can see them being a really fun color to wear. Additionally, these corally pink reds, I did not expect to be in my color palette. They are definitely not the coolest of reds. They even have this like very bright red, sort of like lipstick red that has the slightest bit of orange in it, which I did not expect that would look good on me. So I'm also excited to sort of explore these colors on this color card here. You can see that my palette is pretty saturated and pretty bright. There are lots of dark colors, bright colors. What this palette does not have that surprised me is that there are no pastels and there are no grays. Ginger shared that my neutrals are going to be black, navy, this dark chocolate brown, but gray is not a good neutral for me, which I was so surprised because I don't know, I just thought that if I couldn't wear beige, then gray was my best option. But it turns out if I do want a lighter color neutral, something closer to white is probably gonna be better on me than the gray colors that I thought I would look good in. I am surprised that there are no pastels in here, just because from like the internet, I've seen that pretty much every season has some sort of pastel in it. Kind of surprised to learn that pastels are not my best colors. So after going through this process, I love knowing that this palette is 100% personalized to me rather than giving me a predetermined palette that I might fit into but not completely. This looks kind of similar to the winter season, but it's not 100% winter. Might be leaning a little bit towards spring, but it's not 100% spring either. So this is a 100% Amy palette. I can totally see now what Ginger was saying about color analysis with the seasonal method being a bit limiting. There are definitely a lot of warm colors on here. There are no pastels, and the fact that gold is my given jewelry color or metal color, I think was something else that really showed me that it's hard to fit yourself into a category of 4. I mean, the human population, there's so many combinations of hair, skin, and eye colors. So even with the seasons divided into 12 further seasons or even 16 seasons, it does seem a little bit limiting. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. I really enjoyed the process. I thought it was super cool and super insightful as someone who wants to learn what colors they look best in. Now, I don't think color analysis is for everyone. If you are someone who is really confident in your color palette, in your fashion wardrobe, and you don't really mind if they look their best on you or don't look the best on you, then stick with that palette. I really loved how Ginger was super encouraging while we were doing the session, sharing that, you know, these are my best colors, but I can still wear whatever I want. These are just for if I want to look my best, that these colors are what to pick. But if I find a shirt in the mall that is like a pastel yellow and I love it and can't wait to wear it, then I definitely should wear it. And that was something that I'm glad she emphasized, and that she wasn't locking me into the box of these are my colors for the rest of my life. This color palette should stick with me and be consistent as long as my hair, skin, and eyes stay this tone and match these color cards. So I think it's really awesome that this is part of the palette, so you can sort of use it as a control to see. She said the only time that I might want to consider getting my colors done again is when I get older and my hair goes gray. The hair color changing is going to affect my palette. Now, I did do my color analysis in the summertime, and I do get a slight tan every summer just from being outside a bit more, and she shared that that really shouldn't affect my color palette at all unless my summer tan is several shades darker than my natural skin tone. It really shouldn't affect too much. I know I didn't get like a super dramatic tan this summer. Now for knitting, this is going to be great for picking out yarn colors. I love how this is so portable and small, and it came in a little drawstring bag as well, so this is super easy to throw into my purse if I'm going yarn shopping or if I'm going shopping at the mall for clothing. Funny enough, I feel like my color intuition has sort of been similar to this, and so this kind of matches my yarn shelf already, which I guess is no surprise, and again is more emphasis that I kind of already had a feeling what colors would be best on me. Of course, not to this level of depth and precision, but it's kind of nice to know that I already have a good stash of yarn that has a lot of green, a lot of blue, and a lot of purple. I definitely recommend Ginger Burr for a color analysis if you are looking for a palette that is 100% personalized to you. Ginger offers both virtual and in-person appointments, so if you are local to Boston, I definitely recommend going in person, as it was super fun and super insightful, and I just loved the process. If you're not local to the Boston area, she does virtual appointments as well. Regardless of whether you're in person or virtual, you will end up with a personalized keyring with your color palette on it. Both sessions will cost $379. That's the current price. And I'll link her website below if you're interested. So thanks so much for joining me as I shared about my professional color analysis. I hope this was enjoyable to watch and maybe insightful for how you pick your colors. I was super excited to learn about what my colors are and looking forward to using my palette as I go yarn shopping in the future. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.